What is the stupidest injury you've ever gotten? Leaned forward to look at my face closely in the bathroom mirror. Vertebrae in my lower back slipped out of position. 9 weeks on disability. Then got laid off. I walked around for a while with 3 subluxed vertebrae. Physical therapist tried calling the ambulance on me. I once injured my leg by jumping off the back of a moving truck so that I wouldn't be in trouble for riding on the back of a moving truck. As a kid who just learned how to ride a cycle, I saw my auntie visiting us with a cake in her hand. I was so excited I rode hard and fast towards her and forgot to brake. I rode my bike into a wall and broke my hand. On a positive note, I got biggest piece of cake. I hope it wasn't your cake eating hand at least. There's a tool called a hay hook. It looks like a big Captain Hook hand, except it's welded to a metal bar. You stab it into small bales of hay to make them easier to drag around. One day I missed the hay and hit my knee. I've hurt myself in many weird ways, so this was tough to figure out. A while ago I was riding my bike and saw a rabbit. I wasn't watching where I was going and rode off a retaining wall. I got a concussion from that. I tried going for a bike ride for the first time after like 10 years once. Hopped on and immediately veered sideways, straight into a barrier, just like riding a bike. I did get the hang of it again almost immediately, but the guards at the housing gate had a good laugh. I once broke my thumb trying to give someone a hug. Awkwardly caught it on their body and the ligament of my stretched thumb popped off and took some bone with it. Aggressive hugging. When I was 5, I was stepped on by a llama. My mom said I had a llama foot shaped bruise on my back for a couple weeks. They closed the petting zoo after that. When it reopened, they no longer allowed people inside the animal pens. My horse kneed me on my temple by accident while I was kneeling down, bandaging his leg. He knocked me out cold for a few seconds and I ended up with a very swollen black eye for about 10 days. He was actually just getting a better footing, not being difficult at all, and it was just a tap. But I looked like I had been KO'd by Lennox Lewis in round 1. I dropped my hoof pick behind my horse's foreleg once, and when I bent to get it he thought I was going to pick out his hoof, lifted his foot and slammed me into the face with his soft ground studs. Had the weirdest marks on my face. He was such a good boy. When I was 6 my forehead was really itchy, but it was one of those deep itches that you couldn't really scratch out. So my bright 6-year-old brain told me to get into an all-fours position and try rubbing my forehead into the carpet. Well, I did that and ended up taking a small layer of skin off that took ages to heal completely. Imagine walking in on your child doing this. You'd think they're possessed. I broke my foot whilst practicing the finishing move in Karate Kid. I was 20. Get him a body bag. Yug. I woke up, looked at the clock, had time before the alarm would go off, and went back to sleep. Woke up again, looked at the clock, felt a pop and heard a sound in my neck. Torticollis. I had to call my dad to come to the college, help me down 3 flights of stairs, and take me to the air. Ruined my whole 2-week Christmas break. In high school as I was leaving I saw a high jump pad and bar on the field, so I decided to give it a try. When I landed on my back, my knee came down and I gave myself a black eye. I feel like somehow this qualifies for our full shrimp but needs its own special name, like a figure skating move. Watching American football as a kid, my dad missed the play where one of the wide receivers injured his ankle. Oh dad, he did this. I ended up with the same injury. You were spot on at least. This wasn't me, but I was playing basketball with some friends one day and the topic of Derrick Rose's ACL tear came up. Friend of mine was confused how he could have gotten hurt on that play, so he tried to mimic exactly what Rose did to see if he could feel any pressure in his knee. He tore his meniscus. I tore my meniscus 6 weeks ago and had surgery to repair it. Everybody keeps asking me if I did it playing sports and I have to tell them, no, I in fact injured it rolling over on the couch. M20 if that makes it any more embarrassing. My sister said, hey, I wanna shoot your BB gun, so I give it 10 pumps, hand it to her, walk over to the tire, and as I'm setting the popcorn on the tire, she shoots me in the butt. Took a doctor 10 minutes to dig it out. I decided it would be quicker to walk down an incline of tennis ball sized rocks in flip flops with my hands full than walk around on the pavement. I was right. I descended quickly. Having your hands full decreases brain functioning because you can only think about the fastest way to stop having your hands full. You tried your best. Stupidest injury? Well, one time when I was a kid, I was running around the yard, pushing the wheelbarrow. I hit a big root, went flying forward into the wheelbarrow, and ended up crashing into a tree like 40 feet downhill. Stupidest time I merely hurt myself? I peed on an electric cattle fence. Cause I thought it would be funny. It was just not for me. These are both such cartoon character things to happen. Tried to break a thread by wrapping it around my fingers and suddenly pulling a thread of Kevlar. Cut my fingers to the bone. New fear unlocked. Severed 3 tendons in my left hand while slicing a bagel. Basic tendon repair went over well, but my middle finger got infected. They had to put a tendon from my leg into my hand. 3 surgeries over a freaking bagel. Holy crap, this blew up. Everyone keeps asking me if I ate the bloody bagel. No, I didn't. Thanks for the awards. I always cringe when I see people cut an avocado while it's in their palm. I handled at least 1,000 avocados as line cook, and these slippery suckers will ruin your life if you don't do it right. I have another one. A horse once bit my boob. Hard. I had a fun time explaining my injury to my mom. I get a fun scar too. I can see why your username. I woke up with a sprained ankle. I still have no clue what I did before I fell asleep or in my sleep, but suddenly I woke up. My ankle was swollen and I couldn't walk. Fell through drop ceiling thinking it wasn't drop ceiling. It did not hold my weight. Ah, so that's why it's called a drop ceiling. On vacation in Florida, I had forgotten my sandals at home and didn't want to wear shoes down to the beach. Figured I'd buy a pair later, and was already the last of our group to arrive. So I walked down barefoot. The boardwalk ended up being a lot longer than it looked due to a twist and was made out of some odd almost plastic composite material instead of wood. I have a very high pain tolerance. When I finally reached sand, my feet went from mildly uncomfortable to on fire. I had to be carried back off the beach. 2nd-degree burns on the entirety of both soles of my feet. I couldn't walk for a week. I still openly tell people it's one of the dumbest things I've ever done. A wasted vacation too. Around 6 months ago, I was waiting for my sister on my college campus. Around the same time, I had accidentally gotten grease on my disc brakes so they weren't stopping correctly. I had the great idea to stand the bicycle on the handlebars and spin the wheel from the pedals as fast as they could go on the highest gear and then pinch the disc brakes with my thumb and index finger. This worked for a while and I got a lot of grease off until my thumb got caught in the disc brake, causing it to be partially amputated and fracture the bone. I needed 6 stitches, painkillers, and around 1/2 months for the skin to completely heal. 0/10 wouldn't recommend trying. Jeebus. Man, is that a high bar for me. I think this time I'll go with the time I broke my arm because I was running and my feet got tangled in my parachute pants. Broke my foot on the way to the kitchen to get a muffin. I ate the muffin lying on the kitchen floor with my foot propped up on a chair trying not to cry. Priorities. My sister fully dislocated her far left toe and fractured it while running to get a towel. She always stubs that toe in the corner of the door, but that time it got hooked there and ripped it off the bone and cracked it. Guy with a farm down the road. Hey, can you come help bale hay tomorrow? Me at 16 with no prior bale experience. Sure, I'll be there. Showed up in basketball shorts. Left looking like I spent 3 minutes in a broom closet with 5 cats and a vacuum cleaner I couldn't shut off. The mental picture of a 16-year-old being ravaged by cats in a closet while desperately trying and failing to turn off a vacuum cleaner just cracked me up. Thanks for that. Winter time. Friday, weekend of Super Bowl 41, was running around high school in untied Timberlands. Friend was chasing me and I tripped and fell into a hallway door and sliced my head open. I hit the door so hard my Pokemon Blue version flew out of my back pockets along with everything else in my pants. When the janitors cleaned up the mess, they brought me back a purple cartridge. Limited edition Pokemon Bloodstained Blue. I have an unfortunate talent of accidentally cutting myself on strange objects. All of these were very minor and needed a band-aid at most. I have cut myself on a microwave, a jar of honey, a piece of frozen ham, a locker, twice, a pool table. Not major, but one time I somehow sliced my thumb to the point of bleeding with my other thumbnail. It wasn't even sharp. No freaking idea how I did it, and I just sat there for a good 5 seconds staring in disbelief at my bleeding finger before getting a band-aid. Also burst a blood vessel in my eye by sneezing too hard. I looked like a Bond villain for a bit. I have done both of these, the thumb thing, more than once. My left nut turned 180 degrees while I was sleeping and my nut didn't get any blood. It was freaking bad, man. I thought I was going to die. Had to have my ballsack cut open to pull my nut out and turn back around. I was trying to reposition a tube for a ride at Waterworld. Right before going down it, slipped on the first step and sprained my ankle. By the time I got done with the ride, it looked like a baseball in place of my ankle. Second ride of the day. Happened earlier today. Not so much stupid as in my fault, but the universe was definitely laughing at me. I decided I was finally going to get serious about running. I wanted to run for exercise for a while, but I was out of shape and embarrassed. I finally mustered up the courage to go to the gym. I walk outside to let my dog go to the bathroom before I left, and a wasp stung me on the lower side of my foot, right in the arch. I was wearing sandals, even had on my workout clothes and everything. My foot was the size of a softball for a week. The stupidest bee sting I've gotten was when I was driving the boat across the lake to the landing. I hit a wasp with my neck, so of course I slapped my hand to my neck. Got stung again on the hand. I think I might just be a bee wasp magnet with how often I've been stung. Thankfully I don't swell or have any sort of allergic response. Took a golf ball to the face. We were launching it out of one of those giant water balloon launchers. I pulled back as far as I could and let go. The ball stayed in the pouch and snapped back in my face right below my right eye. We're talking maybe a half inch from losing my eye. My zygomatic bone took it all, but surprisingly nothing broke. I just sprayed a ton of blood and had a massive black eye that migrated all over my face. This is absolutely brutal. Those massive slingshots are seriously such a horrible thing to even bother with trying to use, especially with anything that can actually injure you. Oh man, I pinch a nerve stapling paper at an awkward angle. I had to go to urgent care. It was considered on the job injury too. I was so embarrassed. How bizarre. I didn't even know that was possible. I was deaf in one ear for about a week because I had built a super pop cracker. I had taken 2 boxes of those pops, or those paper snappers, and very carefully unwrapped each one. I emptied out the contents into a tissue paper and twisted the end to form a huge pop. I then accidentally dropped this inside the house, right on the tiled floors at my feet, where it exploded and echoed so loudly. My left ear kept ringing and then I was deaf for days. My sister, who was 3 floors above me, even heard it. Scraping the gunpowder off a roll of paper caps, then hitting the rather explosive pile with a hammer had a similar effect on me. I was in my mid-30s at the time, and it was actually my older brother who had the idea, and also him that wielded the hammer. The resulting bang was a bit louder than either of us expected. I threw out my shoulder angrily, moving a hotel pillow in the middle of the night. Had to go to PT to get full range of motion back. Oops. Asking because today I was trying to open a can of stain. The screwdriver slipped, and I stabbed it right into my other hand. So now I'm staining stuff with a small stab injury on one hand. I think you'll find that's a fairly common injury and that you won't feel too stupid over it. 4th grade. Excited for my first ever youth soccer practice that afternoon. I kicked the solid wood coffee table in excitement that morning, nearly breaking my big toe. Didn't practice. Tore a muscle in my butt while bending over putting laundry in the dryer. Broke my finger when punching down bread dough. Strained a muscle in my back while pooping. Dislocated my shoulder walking a dog. Pulled a plate from a fused bone off the bone. Ran headfirst into a street sign. And so many more. The pooping incident made me laugh out loud. Rolled my ankle while running. just running for exercise. Felt pain. Thought I just sprained my ankle. Went to the doctor and it turns out I fractured my 5th metatarsal, a Jones fracture, one of the hardest to heal in the human body. That was a month ago. Just got cleared for weight bearing in a boot. Can't even drive for 10 weeks. Put a mini bike on its kickstand. Walked 2 feet. Turned around and found the bike falling on top of me. I could have sworn I almost severed a muscle strand in my calf where the frame hit me. 5 years later I still have a small divot in my leg. Last year my flatmate cooked some pasta and left the pot and bits of pasta for hours. The pasta was hard as a rock and stuck to the bottom by the time I needed the pot. So I tried scratching the pasta with my fingers because my brain couldn't think of anything better at that moment. I ended up piercing the flesh under my fingernail. Kid threw his trapper keeper at me freshman year of high school. I tried to karate chop it and ended up breaking my wrist. Being a young kid obsessed with ninjas, I, at 4 years old, repeatedly jumped from our ottoman to kick the back of our couch in midair. Did it so many times that I broke my ankle. I tore my ACL getting out of a car. I fell asleep standing up in my kitchen and gave myself a concussion when I timbered backwards and caught the opposite counter. I threw my back out, full on pinched nerve and bulging disc, by sneezing. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.